I'm not actually sure that any of this makes sense. I hope I can edit this in a way that it is coherent. So, good luck to all of us. Have you ever had a theory you've been trying to put together, and the words are there in your head, but you can't find where they stop, where they begin? Yeah, that's me today, and most days. Also, hi, I'm Kate, and welcome to Always Tuck and Roll, where we discuss life, the universe, autism, and everything else, I guess, because I have no idea what's going on. I have always admitted that I don't know what I'm doing. So, let's continue to fumble through this because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Not that any of this is going well, but we gotta move forward. Pay no attention to these slams and slams around me. I have neighbors and they're rude AF. Anyway, let's talk about cults, y'all. Why? Because cults are one of my primary special interests. I think most things about the human condition fascinate me, always have. Part of it's, me trying to learn how to be a person, but also just culture fascinates me. I can't help it. Probably why I have an anthropology degree. So culture really fascinates me. Anyway, so I have been watching a lot of cult content on YouTube. A lot of people who have gotten out of their high demand religions, their cults, their high control groups. And right now I'm not saying all religions are cults. I do feel that way, that all religions have culty aspects to them, but to quote or to paraphrase Mike Rinder, who is a former Scientologist, he said that you can tell the difference between a religion and a cult by how they respond when you want to leave. A cult's not going to let you leave. Though I find that a lot of mainstream religions have some feelings too, but this is not commentary on religion. I am not opposed to it. I think you should do what's right for you, and I strongly feel that all consenting adults should be able to do what they want to do as long as it isn't hurting anyone else or denying anyone else their consent. I don't know if that's a good enough disclaimer, but we're just going to forge on through because I don't know what else to do. I've been trying a few times, and I want to see if I can articulate my thoughts. So, good luck to all of us. I notice a lot in former Scientologists that similarities in my own autistic journey and theirs. This is not to say I don't believe any of the people I'm watching are autistic, but I cannot diagnose. That is not training or degrees that I have. But I am noticing behavioral similarities that I believe are specifically spawned from the upbringing they got within Scientology specifically. Number one, bull baiting. So in Scientology, there's a bull baiting training where you sit there and people, just one person usually, just sits there and berates you or tries to make you laugh, wherever, and you cannot respond for 2 hours. If you do any sort of response in that time, clock starts over and you gotta start again. And they'll do this to 6-year-olds. Can you imagine being 6 and having someone just talk at you, either positively or negatively, but I believe it is usually negatively, until you no longer respond at all? That's insane. That's not healthy for any person. So, yeah, after you learn to not respond, yeah, then the way you react to things in the rest of the world, you're not going to react the way a person normally does, whatever that means, but the standard how a human reacts to things. Well, guess what? I don't react to stuff the right way, and I was never bull baited. I mean, I will say that a lot of elementary school and middle school did feel a little bull baity, but that's just because kids are mean. You know? Kids are mean. But there's no time clock. There's no, like, this is the way it has to be. That's just, playground nonsense. There's also, like, everyone has a hard time setting boundaries, but I think, like, I have a hard time since I can't read people. I don't understand where people are coming from. I, generally want to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I'm bad at setting boundaries. I have let people cross my boundaries and harm me more times than I can count. And I'm working on getting better at knowing the signs, at getting better at trying to read people, or just have specific warning signs that, like, my personal red flags, that once I see some, I should walk away. I'm getting better at it. But I'm also seeing that a lot of former Scientologists, because they were raised in such a high control group where, they didn't get love and support a lot of the time because their parents were working and they were not raised by their parents because that's how the religion works. But as they grow up, be adults, and they're out of the religion, they don't know how to set boundaries either. There's a few that I've heard them just talk about, like, how they feel about boundaries, and I could have written what they wrote. We're coming from wildly different walks of life, but I know exactly what they're talking about because same though. And that's it's crazy. You don't expect to see yourself when you're just, like, binging, like, oh, I escaped a cult. Like, oh, but your social interactions and how you relate to, like, your peers. I've seen, like, a lot of the stuff that I learned in, like, high school and college. They didn't get that. They're learning it now, and they're, like, my age, and it's just been a fascinating thing to watch. Boundaries are lots of things. It's not just about, like, physical space or, like, specific relationships. It's also, like, what you're willing to talk about. I don't have a filter. I will talk about things that are probably highly personal, highly invasive, and potentially offensive, and I'll just go for it because I just think of it as things. I will talk sex, religion, money with impunity because I don't care. What's the matter? We all got the things, bodily functions. You want to talk about farts? You want to talk about poop? Your butt's the boss. If your poop's not healthy, you're not healthy. Let's be honest here. That was a tangent. But, and I'm okay with that. And I'm noticing, but, autistic people are direct. We don't, generally, I don't want to, all of us, but nuance is lost on many of us. Or the desire to even care about nuance, because if I have something to say, I'm gonna say it. You know what? A lot of people coming out of Scientology, same thing, because they were encouraged to just say it. Say what you need and get it done and move on. Just go, 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 without anything. But you know what? People don't like to be made to feel uncomfortable. So someone who gets out of Scientology and starts, talking like they usually would about all of the things, or, they're parsing through their life in real time live streaming. Yeah, they're gonna say some things, let people in on some subjects that maybe they shouldn't, or maybe the general public is like, ooh, that's uncomfortable. And then they get blasted for it and they can't figure out, like, what they did wrong. And they're like, oh, my Scientology is showing. Yeah, I do the same thing. I'm constantly in trouble for saying the wrong thing or having the wrong tone or saying things that make other people uncomfortable, or why would you tell them about that? I don't know, it's what came out of my head, okay? That's where we're at. There's a lot of little things. All of this is based on the inner workings of my own brain. So all of these patterns, I don't know if they're there. If you have any idea of what I'm talking about, or this made any sense to me, please let me know in the comments. So compartmentalizing and being hyper-rational, that's another similarity that I've found, and it's definitely not just Scientologists. This is a lot of people who grew up in any high-demand group. Because you know what you have to do, you know what you want to do, you know these things don't work together, but you know you have to just figure out a way to make it go forward. And then as you go and you change and your needs change, then it's like I have a lot of people that will never know that I'm furious with them because I'm not going to tell them. And it doesn't matter that I'm mad at them. I'm still going to treat them the way that I'm going to treat them. But there are people that I will never forgive for things. But I still care about them. We'll still communicate with them and we'll still see them. And I don't know that that's the same type of thing, but I know that for me, that's how I can compartmentalize. And I've definitely seen people in lots of different cults, as they've gotten out, they have the same compartmentalization processes, like, this is killing me inside, but I'm doing this over here with the people that harmed me because this is what I've got. This is the only thing I've got, and I just have to keep moving forward. There's no other way. If you don't compartmentalize, you're gonna be stuck. So let's just keep moving forward. Though for me, forward is occasionally just digging myself into a deeper hole, which is probably this video in real time. So the inability to accept help because you're fine. That seems to be a very common trait in people, especially former Scientologists, because they had to be fine. If they weren't fine, they got in trouble. And you know what? Mormons, if you're not fine, you get in trouble. Which is weird. And actually a lot of religions, if you aren't fine, then you're in trouble for not being fine with it. Because you're not allowed to set boundaries, so it's no wonder no one can set them. But I know that I have to be fine about a lot of things. It's part of that compartmentalizing process that we were just talking about. I wish this made more sense and I could, articulate it more, but I have been trying to sort my thoughts on this for 6 months. And I don't know that it's going to get clear. I would love to open a dialogue because I cannot be the only one noticing these similarities, and I know that they're there. I mean, it could also be, I watch a lot of, maybe I watch too much of the former cult stuff, but I like to see other people's life stories. I like to know what other people have been so that I have the potential to, if I find myself in a situation, I know what to look for. What are the trouble signs? How do I get out if I find myself in a situation like they've ever found themselves in? Another similarity I have found is that a lot of people, autistics will get called liars a lot because people assume we're lying when most of us are literally just telling you the truth. We're saying exactly what we think and exactly what we feel. And since apparently people don't do that, we're assumed that we're lying and we feel or think completely other things. And that's really frustrating. And I have definitely seen former cultists come out and they will say exactly what they're thinking and on their mind. And then I'll watch their words get twisted in real time. And it's like I'm trying to watch myself communicate with people. Because there's nothing worse than having your words twisted in front of your face. I think we all know how that feels. There's the stigma of wanting to be normal, wanting to be treated normal, but also wanting to live authentically as yourself. And those are not necessarily the same thing, unfortunately. There's not as much overlap as we would like because people don't like to be made to feel uncomfortable. And if you are not perfect or have any sort of trauma, you make people uncomfortable. Turns out. Which doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not saying I only want to hear about the bad stuff, but if we don't hear about the bad stuff, the messed up stuff, then A, we miss for opportunities on connection, and B, how do we know what's good if we don't know what's bad? All of life is interesting, even the boring stuff. One of the reasons I think Scientologists, form of Scientologists, fall most into the traits is in addition to things like the bull baiting that they had to deal with when they were small children, is they also they're not allowed to not know what words mean. Granted, they have their own, like, language they have to, like, their own words and terminologies they have to know, but they also have to, like, read the dictionary. They have to define every single word. They can't not know words. So if you talk to a Scientologist, they will use very large words in interesting ways, and you're gonna feel like you're going to be made to maybe feel a little inferior maybe by their vocabulary if you don't also have a large verbose vocabulary. Well, spoiler alert, that is actually how I also talk and feel, and it's not because I read the dictionary, it's because I read a lot of books as a kid. My favorite book when I was 11 was Moby Dick. Yeah, I had words that I used that most people didn't, and it did make me weird. So it's just, there's a lot of... The similarities fascinate me. I love to see the different ways people are connected because we're more alike than we're different. And it's really frustrating in this time of such otherness that we're not looking at the interesting similarities and the things that do link us. I kind of think it might be a lot like how Pacific Islanders view the ocean versus how, like, Westerners view the ocean. The Westerners are always like, oh, the ocean separates us. But the Pacific Islanders were always, the ocean is what connects us. It's what keeps us together. So I think that our similarities and our differences can bring us together on so many ways. I'm not actually sure that any of this makes sense. I hope I can edit this in a way that it is coherent. So I just want to be clear here that I do not believe that surviving a cult in any way, shape, or form makes you autistic. I do not believe I ever insinuated that, but I want to be sure that I'm just talking about similarities, my own life journey versus the life journey of people that I have been watching recover from various cults and high demand groups. Autism is a developmental disorder. Some of them could very well be autistic, and because, especially if they were in Scientology, that's a religion that does not believe in psychiatry and vilifies it actively, they would never, ever have gotten diagnosed. So some of them could be, but I don't know that any of them actually are. I think that they're all still deconstructing an abusive childhood in high control cults, personally. But that's me. Just my opinion. I hope that any of this made sense to you. If it did, please let me know. I really do think that we all have a lot more in common than we do difference, realistically. And it's always fun to look. And if you have special interests, let me know. And if you have, like, what's your favorite place to binge on a special interest? If you are interested in cults and want to know more, I highly recommend watching the Cults to Consciousness YouTube channel. They're also on, it's also a full podcast, but I can't listen. I have to have visuals. So, that, or if you really want to dive into Scientology, you can watch Life After a Cult with Natalie Webster. She has a lot of really good information. There's a whole bunch. My brain is going blank. But those are some really interesting places to start if you're at all interested in cults or just want to know more about anything. And feel free to reach out to me if you're just like, what are you even talking about? Because that's totally fair. I don't know that I presented my case very well or at all. I hope you had a wonderful rest of your day. Take care of yourself. And when all else fails, don't forget to tuck and roll.